Welcome to another video of Code with Toyo. Somebody was asking me modules if I could do a video for modules in JavaScript, and yes, why not? Before we do that, I just want you to understand something about programming languages. The major difference in programming languages are always their syntax. Their concept is almost the same thing, especially for dynamically typed programming languages like Python, JavaScript, and all these modern languages. Their syntax are just a bit different, but the concept and the approach is the same thing. So when it comes to Python, modules is a main thing in ECMAS. When it comes to JavaScript, rather, module is the main thing in ECMAS 6 because most libraries that we use these days, most framework that I use these days are built to that particular approach. For example, ReactJS is built based on components, and components are like modules, functionalities moving from one file to another file, and all of this. So you just need to understand the core basics, and you'll be able to pick them up in no time. So without wasting much of our time, let's go directly into it. So, what are JS modules? JS modules are nothing but self contained files that encapsulate code. So, don't allow the English to scare you so much. Just a file that contains reusable code, either variables, function, classes, and it just isolates it from the global scope. So, you are hiding something away from global scope. Now, why is module even important in programming languages? Imagine you are having to debug or maintain a code of about 5,000 lines in just a single place, and you are debugging the same kind of project that has about 10 different files with 500 lines of code each. You can see the difference. So it's easier for you to manage, to maintain, to scale, to reuse when it is in modules than for you to have it all in a flat place like a spaghetti code. So let's move on and see. When it comes to JavaScript, we export modules and we import them where we want to use them. So we have two type of export. We have the named and default. So we have the named export and default export. So let's use this file to do a sample, maybe for a named export and the other one for a default export. Just something you need to know before we can proceed with writing the code is that you can only have one default export in a file per time, but you can have multiple named exports in a file. So it's just just a rule you need to keep up with. So let's say we want to export this. I could so export um the data type. I could say the export the key. I want it to be a const, not a let, just because it's a different JavaScript video name, and let me just pass in my name. So that means this variable name, I've exported it. I'll be able to import it somewhere to use it. This is a named export. So how do I use it in app.js? If I want to use it here, for example, it's as easy as saying, okay, I want to import. Whenever we are importing a named export, we must put it in a curly bracket. But whenever we are doing a default export, we don't have to put it. That's what's different. So I want to import name from where this particular file we are working on. I'm having core folder and from module 1.js. So this is what I want to import. So automatically you can see if I just quickly I have this in console and I want to see um, the name, for example. If I do this, I don't have to redeclare. I just use it. You can see the name automatically comes to me here. So I just need to maintain it here and always use it there. So if you're into React, you will see when it comes to props and you are using components, you can see it's almost the same kind of approach that we have. Uh, Let me say I'm using this for declaration of formulas and all of these guys. If I have export consts, let me say pi, for example, to be equals 3.142. That means I can import pi here and use it from the same kind of file. So I can import pi if you want to import pi and use it as the same file. So name and pi, let's see this name, comma, let's print out pi and see what we have at the end of the day. If I run this code, So we have a reference error. It's not seeing pi. It's not taking in. It wants me to take them in one after the other. It's individuals. We are going to solve that in just a moment now. So it wants this way. So we have name and we have pi on their own. Um, so you can see we have Elijah and we have 3.142. So how can we just quickly solve that so that we can export the named um we can export the name variables, or we can export our variables as a pack so we can unpack it. So unpacking is something in JavaScript that I should learn. So I can just have my variables like this, const that, or let this, let that, and I can do an export and export them as an object of this, so that at the end of the day where I'm using it, I can always do an import of. So you see more of these things, you see it a lot in ReactJS, React Native, and you wonder what is going on. That is exactly what is going on. So we have this sorted out. So the next thing we want to talk about now is the default import. So this is a named import and a named export. So let's do a default import and a default export. We are going to be doing that in module 2. Most of the time we like doing default exports for functions. Yes, for functions. Since functions will just do something and return a code and show a value. So let's say we just have a function in JavaScript and let's export default, then function, the function name, let's call it greeter. I don't even know if it's an English word. And we just want to return, let's say, good morning as a string. Whenever we call this function, we just want it to return. So using this in this our file, it's as easy as saying import. Now, observe, greeter was never called in the curly bracket because it is a default export from call. I think we have it in module2.js. So if I want to print out this in the console to see, I'll just go ahead and call greeter. Now, if I call it as a function, it will return the original value for me when it's done executing. So you can see good morning. So basically, this is what you will see more in React Native, React JS, and all of these guys. And you are passing props from one file to another and all of this. So we have two main imports. Again, let me reiterate. When it comes to JavaScript, either you are doing a named or a default. If you are doing a default export, you are going to import it as a default file. You don't have to pass it in a curly bracket. But if it is a named, you can do this. And you can have as many named as you can, but you can only have one default per file. And yes, you can pack it to as an object and export it. So whenever you're importing, you can do an unpacking and all this. I don't know if you have been looking at React before. You can see like import use stage from these, and then you see them exporting into use state, maybe const, exporting both the variable and the function as a use state.